welcome to our session of St. Charles at Home.
I'm Alexandra. I'm a parishioner of St. Charles. I have been a parishioner for about over 20 years now. I attended St. Charles Bromwell School next door when there was actually an elementary K through 8. So I had my communion at St. Charles. I had my confirmation at St. Charles. And I still live in the area about 4 blocks away. So I still, I usually go to the 7 p.m. masses back when we were normal before the pandemic. And I'm also a member of the Young Parishioners, the Young Professionals group at our church, which is very interesting. I like that we all get together and share our stories. And most recently, I would say that I've been helping and with Catholic Charities on Thursday mornings and trying my best to get to the Friday food distribution sites. I went twice with Father Bill. So that's been interesting to see that and experience that.
Very good. Well, it's great to have somebody who has long-term presence here in the Heights. You're a rarity.
I know. There are a few, there are some. They're older than me, but there are some there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And I'm glad that you've been participating in the Thursday events over at 191. I know you've had from what Father Bill just told me, you've worked pretty hard this morning. You did a lot of packing.
Unfortunately, I missed this morning, but
see that?
I did.
That's why he had to work double.
That's why he had to do a little bit more. So I apologize for that. But any other Thursday, it is hard work. It's heavy lifting. It's genuinely heavy lifting, and there's a lot of bags to pack. But I enjoy it because I know they're going to be used. You know, they're not just going to sit.
Yeah, they give out usually on a Thursday morning. They've been giving out almost 200 bags, and then the bags that remain are given out during the week because people come every day in the sense of looking for food.
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Catholic Charities site provided that gift to people.
Yeah. Well, we have 20 sites that we operate, and then there are probably another 20 to 25 sites where we help parishes. So we supply to them, and they in turn then operate their own pantries, and that's throughout Brooklyn and Queens. Yeah. And then, as you've experienced, we have the pop-ups on Friday. Tomorrow I think will be the, if I'm counting correctly, it'll be the 11th or the 12th pop-up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Out in Corona.
I was just going to say it's out in Corona, and I think that area was hit really hard with the pandemic as far as the virus getting there, but also the unemployment rate there.
Yeah. So it's an area that was devastated. It's primarily populated by undocumented, heavily Hispanic, and a lot of day workers. And so we have a child care center in that parish.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, that's not operating at the moment because of COVID-19, but it's one of our older child care centers. And we have usually upwards of 150 and a waiting list, for that. It's early childhood. It's Head Start and early Head Start. We operate out of that site, and then a family program that goes along with that.
That's amazing. But I'm sure, if you do that program here in Brooklyn Heights, you'll also have a waiting list. With also, childcare is very much wanted and needed everywhere.
Very much so. Yeah.
So I remember, your homily this week, I very much enjoyed, the Sunday that just passed, specifically because I like that you spoke about trust. And I think that's really important, especially when we're going through something like this, or just everyday life. I think it's important to trust in God because he's never going to let you down, and also trust in yourself that you can make it through. Some people put themselves down and get let down because they feel like they're messing up too much, they're not doing enough, or something's not going to happen. But I feel if they have a little bit more confidence in themselves and a little bit more trust, it always works out.
Mhm.
And also trust in the community, trust in your neighbors that they're there to help you, you're there to help them, and we're going to get through it together.
Mhm. Well, trust is critical. Matter of fact, I
Mhm.
think it's the essential component of faith.
Yes.
Faith doesn't exist without trust, because ultimately faith is a willingness to trust God. But faith is built upon the fact that God trusts us,
Yep.
which to me has always been a crazy thing in the sense of,
Well,
you
because
know,
we have free will, and
yeah.
most people don't do.
Oh, yeah, no, we have free, but it always amazes me that God has the patience that God has,
Right?
far more than I would have. I mean, I would have probably wiped the place out a hell of a lot of times already. But you know, God has great patience, and that patience is built in God's trust of us,
Mm-hmm.
that we will eventually open up to God and to God's ways and recognize the wisdom of what God teaches.
Yep. And you need to trust in that. And I also
Yeah.
feel like in order to trust that God's going to do the right thing, people need to kind of look within themselves and give themselves up to Jesus and God, and have him kind of come into their lives and trust that they can let things go and they can not be so upset about things or paranoid or anxious about things, because God is
Mhm.
always going to be there. But that does take a lot of trust for people to let
That does
go of
tremendous,
that control.
tremendous amount of trust. And basically, how can I say it? The great sin of the world is the lack of trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was Adam and Eve. That how they fell into the temptation was they didn't trust God,
Yep.
that God would take care of them. And so they thought they had to take care of themselves. And that's how they went and ate of the fruit of the tree that God had asked them not to. And it's interesting, that tree is always described as the knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
And almost that God was protecting them from that knowledge, and yet they didn't trust God enough to be able to withstand the temptation to take charge. You know,
Yeah. And that's why another reason I'm tying this into the pop-up, the food pop-ups that you guys do every Friday, or even the distribution of food at Catholic Charities. I think, you know, someone's thinking, where am I going to get food from? What am I going to do to eat? How am I going to provide for my families? I think us providing that, or the Catholic Charities providing that, kind of takes that off of their to-do list, right? They're trusting, especially with the pop-ups, because that's not every week. So maybe that particular week, somebody needs it really badly, and we're there. So I
mm-hmm.
feel like if people keep trusting in God, God does things like that for people, just random. I know we did Bed-Stuy last week, and tomorrow is Corona Queens. So it's amazing to me how many people come. And I think it's all
Mm-hmm.
because they trust in God. They trust that, okay, this is God telling me I'm going to have food for the rest of the week. Let me go out there and get it, which is really a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also trust of the people who volunteer. The
Right.
people who volunteer are expressing their trust that they can be there, they can basically put themselves at risk, and they're going to be taken care of. You know, and it's that's a great expression also of people basically operating uh, out of trust that's born of their faith, because
Right.
90% of the volunteers who are there are people of Catholic persuasion, in the sense
Mhm.
of they were baptized at one point, and so, you know, the level of participation always is something you leave between them and God. But the fact is that they do come out, and they come out, and that's an expression of their trust that they'll be safe in doing that, because a lot of people would be fearful of going into these neighborhoods and, you know, being exposed to
Right.
all the people that come. And, you know, it's usually close to 500 plus that come through the pop-ups every Friday, sometimes
Yep.
more than that. I would imagine tomorrow at Corona, we might well hit 2,000 on that site.
Yeah, I would imagine that too. That's gonna be a high volume place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there, you'll be amazed how many volunteers are gonna come out.
I
And
would imagine there'll be a good number of volunteers. We've been very blessed in the sense of every week having a number of volunteers. Usually, I would say anywhere from 100 to 150 volunteers that come out, and some come out earlier in the week and have been out helping to get all this stuff ready.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of pre-work that has to go on in order to be able to put up the pop-ups on a Friday.
Yeah, and in this heat.
Yes,
And in
that
the-
in this heat. Yeah, I noticed that last week at Bed-Stuy because
Right.
I was there early in the morning. I got there probably around 7 and was working with the people and packaging the chickens.
Yeah.
And you began to feel the heat as the morning went on.
Yeah, by the time Father Bill and I and Father John came too, and Joe and Diane came, by the time we got there 11, it was blistering hot. It was really bad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something, helping people and knowing that you're there for a reason and knowing that someone's going to benefit off of you being there kind of makes it all better. And you don't even think about it. You don't even think how hot it is or if you're tired or thirsty. You just want to be there, want to get the job done, want to make sure everyone gets the food, the bags of food, and gets to where they're going okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
No, that you lose, in a sense, I don't want to say, but you do. You lose yourself because you're there really to serve others.
Right.
And so that becomes the primary concern of making sure that, they're getting the supplies that they need. And sometimes, as you've seen, sometimes it's not just an elderly person who comes, but it could be a young mother with her children, and it kind of just, I think we had an interesting we had a meeting yesterday with the Board of Trustees of Catholic Charities, and one of them, you might have seen her, Dr. Lutas, who comes every week to the thing. She usually stands at the gate and it talks to the people as they're coming in or going out. And she told a very interesting story yesterday to the other board members that happened last week at Bed-Stuy.
Mm-hmm.
She said this elderly woman, after she had gotten all of her groceries and everything, came up to her, she said, and gave her $5 and told her, "Thank you, this is a donation to help others."
Yep.
Yeah, and it was just, she said she was overwhelmed by that, in the sense of that this lady who had waited online, who basically was there because she needed food,
Mm-hmm.
Yet was willing to take, from her own, in the sense of to see that other people could be helped.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the gospel story of when Jesus looks at the people at the temple and sees the widow who comes and puts in her 2 cents. And he always says that she gave more than everybody else.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like helping people overall. It's just in my nature. So to help people in that factor, like giving them food or even packing a bag,
Mm-hmm.
and of good food. It's not junk. It's actually really good food.
It's the top of the line.
Yeah, it is. So, and you also see these people, and they're not necessarily homeless or really or in bad conditions, but you can see because of the situation that we're in, they do
Mm-hmm.
need a little bit of help. They just need a little bit of hand, not so much a handout, because I mean, if you charge them $5, I'm sure they all give the $5, but just like a little bit of a push, a little bit of like trusting that God is there for you. Like, here, take this. That's what I think it is too. It's a gift.
Well, that's why we do them, and we do them only out of parishes. I've had other organizations call and say, well, would you come and do one at our place?
Yeah.
And I say to them, well, we'll help you, in any way we can, but no, we're only doing these out of parishes because we want it to be a statement of the church.
That's
That
important.
here is the church reaching out to assist you. That in a sense, the church, being the hands of Jesus, are offering themselves in service to you in this time of crisis. And so I think we've been very successful in that, in the sense of maintaining that this is out of the church, that this is happening. It's through church funds, donations, and it's through church structures that we're able to do this.
Yeah, that's important.
And church volunteers. So I mean, all the pieces are right there to make it a great expression of ministry in that sense.
Yeah, it's a great way. And it's a great way for people to actually come, not necessarily come to church, but realize some people don't even know there's churches in their neighborhoods, just to realize, look, it's here. And then maybe once we will open up again, maybe they'll start coming, maybe they'll join as parishioners just because they're just so grateful. They want to be a part of and help too. And
yeah, hopefully some of that will happen. You know, some of them are regular parishioners. That's how they, come and find out about it. But some others are, they live in the neighborhoods. They see the advertisements, the notifications that go up, and so they come. And hopefully they do, have that sense that this is how the church operates. This is the
right. That's what
this is the church that cares.
That's important.
Yeah. Good.
I'm glad. How long more are you going to do the pop-ups for?
Tomorrow will be the last of the pop-ups.
Okay.
Because it's just becoming more and more difficult. The weather, as you know, is getting hotter.
Right.
And it's just becoming. So we're actually going to go to a different approach. We're going to continue to do the grocery bags to our seniors who live in our buildings. We have 21 senior buildings that we operate. So we have about, I'd say, close to 2,500 residents that live in our senior buildings throughout Brooklyn and Queens. So we'll continue. We've been bringing them hot meals every day. So we're going to replace the hot meals with the grocery bags, recognizing that they can get out now. There's more flexibility in their schedules. So as long as they have food available to them, they can prepare their own meals, which is probably important for them because it gives them a sense of being in charge of their lives and activity that they can engage in.
And independence. In
addition to that, we have arranged with Key Food and Food Town, their corporate headquarters. They have a number of stores that they franchise around, and we're arranging with them to provide vouchers. So we'll be providing a $100 voucher to the individuals so that they can go basically and get their own groceries. And the stores have been very good because they're all giving us a 10% discount. So
that's really good.
Yeah, so we'll pay $90 for the $100 voucher, but they will have a $100 value. And I think the benefit of that is not only it gives people the opportunity to go and shop and get what they feel they need and they want, but it also is a way of supporting the small businesses, because many of the Key Foods and the food towns are small operations in the sense of somebody might, because it's franchised, they might own maybe 2 or 3 stores.
Right.
But then there's a lot of employment that's created through that in the stores. And so it's a way of kind of helping all around. That's
true.
With that.
It's a good way to compete with the Whole Foods of the world. Wow.
Yeah. So that gives them a lot more. And again, right now you have to take the bag that we have prepared.
Right.
On the assumption that we put the right things in the bag for you. This way, if you have the voucher, you can go walk up and down the aisle, get what you want. And as I say, I think it's better for them. And as I say, it's also a way of supporting the local stores and the people who work in the stores.
I didn't see it from that point of view. That's a good point.
Yeah. Good. Well,
It's been a great conversation.
yes,
For
very
everything
much
you do.
enjoyed it. Very much enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing you back at the 7 o'clock mass. That's my, when we get back to that. I think Father Smith is indicating that probably will happen in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, if the Wednesdays and Sunday masses start up again, I'll do my best to make it for one of those.
All right.
For sure. I'll
Yeah.
support.
Well, as I say, I think he's going to do Wednesday at 12:10
Yep.
and Sunday at 11:15.
Right. That's what they're trying to do.
But he'll have to be very cautious because he has to limit the number of people who can be present for either of those. But I think
Right.
the Sunday one, he's going to continue zooming that.
Yeah.
That new technology that.
You're there too. You do really well.
Yeah,
It's good. No, you
yeah,
guys do a really good job.
I'm not a big Zoom fan. I mean, as I keep telling everybody, I'm still quill pens.
Well, you're doing a great job right now. And it's a great way to use the chapel that you guys have.
Yeah.
And
Well, we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
When you went to school here, this was the convent.
Right, it was. We weren't allowed in there. We didn't go in there. We did go into the rectory for to have our confirmation classes.
Mm-hmm.
And then back then it was Father Kraus.
Right.
And I believe, was it Father John? He always had a joke. I remember what he looks like, but I can't remember his name. Maybe Father Bill. No.
John and Tonchik?
He always used to want us to pull his finger and make jokes.
Yeah.
No, I can't. If I see a picture of him, I'll remember. But Father Kraus was the one who gave us our confirmation lessons, and we had to go to the rectory for that and sit at the dining table.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Good.
It's an interesting turn of events.
Yes.
I like to still be here, though. I appreciate it.
Well,
and I appreciate everything you guys do.
It's great having you, and great having you stay here in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I love it.
Hopefully, you'll be a continuing contributor in that sense of because you bring the history, which is so very important. I mean, and this is an area with a rich history.
Yeah, it is, and it's I mean, it hasn't changed dramatically, but it has evolved a lot with the Brooklyn Bridge Park and all things like that. So I like being around.
Yeah.
And to see the evolution.
Yeah, and as you know, the parish has been here forever.
Forever, yeah.
Goes
Yeah,
back
I do know that.
The 1840s. I mean, the late 1840s was when so it's one of the strong institutions of the area.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah.
Even outside the neighborhoods, I work in Park Slope and Carroll Gardens and out into Bay Ridge. And I mentioned St. Charles, and everyone knows what I'm talking about, like what the church is and where it is. So St. Charles has a good name, good history.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, it's been delightful talking with you today.
Same.
And I look forward to seeing you.
See you around, Monsignor.
Good.
Sing of the Lord's goodness, Mother of all wisdom, come to him and bless his name. Mercy he has showed us, his love is forever, faithful to the end of days. Come then all you nations, sing of the Lord's goodness, melodies of praise and thanks to God. Bring out the Lord's glory, praise him with your music, worship him and bless his name. Power he has wielded, honor is his garment, risen from the snares of death. His word he has spoken, one bread he has broken, new life the God gives to all. Come then all you nations, sing of your Lord's goodness, melodies of praise and thanks to God. Bring out the Lord's glory, praise him with your music, worship him and bless his name. Courage in our darkness, comfort in our sorrow, Spirit of our God most high. Solace for the weary, pardon for the sinner, splendor of the living God. Come all the Lord's goodness, melodies of praise and thanks to God. Bring out the Lord's glory, praise Him with your music, worship Him and bless His name. Praise Him with your singing, praise Him with a trumpet, praise Him with a lute and harp. Praise Him with the cymbals, praise Him with your dancing, praise God in the end of days. Come then, all you nations, sing of your Lord's goodness, melodies of praise and thanks to God. Bring out the Lord's glory, praise Him with your music, worship Him and bless His name.